the trend, I believe, is that we're going to see Bitcoin become much more turbulent in bigger swings up and down as we go towards $1 million per coin and beyond that, because this is sort of price discovery. And I happen to lean towards the side of green candles, because the way I look at the demand and supply imbalance is just so skewed that it makes me fearful that it's just going to come all at once, and we're going to see this Omega candle just rise up nonstop for a whole day as people pile on into Bitcoin. Because you can see, like, even though we're up here, we're not really moving that quickly yet, and the demand from ETFs and from MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor, it just seems ridiculously skewed. Like, there is 20x, sometimes more, demand just from ETFs in a given day. And that does not seem sustainable to me. And there are some theories that OGs are selling, but I really don't think that that's necessarily the case. It could just be people moving and migrating coins to new wallets, or to multi-sig, or improving security. So I just think there is a supply shock coming, and nobody sees it coming. And one day, there just won't be enough Bitcoin, and that will just trigger this recursive demand shock coupled with this supply shock that just shoots us straight up.
Bitcoin is positioned for a monumental surge, with projections suggesting it could skyrocket to $1 million per coin as demand significantly outpaces supply. This bold forecast comes from Samson Mow, CEO of January 3rd, who highlights that while the current price discovery phase may temper dramatic volatility, the long-term trajectory points to explosive upward momentum. Mow anticipates this will culminate in what he describes as the Omega candle, a powerful upward spike in Bitcoin's value. As demand continues to exceed the available supply, Bitcoin's inherent scarcity is likely to fuel a series of surges, driving prices higher at an accelerated pace. This dynamic underscores the cryptocurrency's potential for substantial growth, particularly as more investors recognize its value proposition. Stay tuned until the end of the video, where Samson Mow unveils critical insights and details that you won't want to miss.
Hi guys, hope to see you guys at Dubai Token 2049. We have exclusive 10% off the limited super early bird tickets. Click the link below. This pass will grant you access to speaking sessions, networking app, exhibition hall, daily networking drinks, and also included breakfast, lunch, and coffee breaks, all included the package. I'd love to see everyone there. Peace out.
The whole concept of cycles is interesting. I don't really believe in cycles, and before I get into it, I just want to say, like, there has been talk of a super cycle where Bitcoin just goes up and doesn't stop. I think it'll come. There will be fluctuations, there will be volatility, but it seems like the concept of cycles is not something that is in line with Bitcoin. We've had 3 cycles, I guess, that look similar. But the first cycle, like the first 4-year period of Bitcoin, the first epoch, I think you can't really count that. That's just early price discovery and formation of the Bitcoin price, right? It's very, very immature and very fragmented market. So you can say, like, there's been 3 coin tosses and they kind of look similar. But why would Bitcoin continue on mirroring 4-year periods ahead of it when adoption is exponential? I just don't see why that would be the case. So eventually the cycle, or what appears to be a cycle, should break to the upside. And I guess this is what Omega is about. It's just a breaking of the cycle. And I think an Omega candle would definitely break some of the models out there, like maybe stock to flow, and definitely what's the other one?
Parallel.
They're useful as a guidance, but I think saying that Bitcoin is going to follow this exact model is very dangerous, because Bitcoin just does its own thing. Like, it's not like people were thinking to, or people were being recommended to trade against the power law. Like, when you get up here, sell everything, and then you buy back cheaper. And I think that's quite dangerous, because
I agree.
you could never buy back again cheaper, right? There is no guarantee. And I think you just have to look at the writing on the wall, which is adoption seemingly is growing exponentially. Like the US, a world superpower, is mulling over creation of strategic Bitcoin reserves and significantly adopting Bitcoin in a major way. And I believe that's going to trigger a lot of follow-on behavior from other countries too. Like there is discourse now in Russia to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and other countries too. So it's really just a matter of time. And when the US does something, everyone's just going to pile on. I think they will do it because they don't have a choice. With the debt, the US national debt the way it is now at $36.2 trillion, I don't see them paying that off. It's just too big, and the interest rate to service that debt is just growing exponentially. And the question is, will spending stop, and can they taper it? And I just don't think they can stop spending. There's talk of a Department of Government Efficiency to kind of cut costs, but it's to be seen if that will work or not, because you're going to cut some costs there. You'll cut some jobs, government jobs probably, but that is going to make a lot of people unhappy. And what that leads to is that they vote in the other guys next term, right? So there's a delicate balance here. And this is why I'm really bearish on the world being able to survive in a fiat standard. And they absolutely need to go to a Bitcoin standard, because any attempt to fix the current problems through cost cutting or austerity or anything is going to push people to the other side, because everyone wants free stuff. So the window of opportunity to actually fix something is very narrow. Even within a 4-year term of any government, there is only really half of it that is viable to push something forward. And it's the same thing like when you're trying to fix the country. Like you have a very narrow window, because you're going to have to deal with the next election soon after. I believe they have to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, because the dollar is diminishing, and really the only net buyer of treasuries is Tether, right? Stablecoin issuing. China is tapering, and the BRICS countries are probably going to taper and step away from the dollar as well. So then, if there's no demand, what are you going to do? You have to do something, because the US is just like is broke, basically. They're massively in debt, and there's no one willing to buy the debt. So yeah, I think strategic Bitcoin reserve is definitely on the cards, and even possibly more, like Bitcoin as legal tender, Bitcoin used as money.
Analysts at H.C. Wainwright predict that Bitcoin could climb to $225,000 by the end of 2025. Their forecast is based on historical price trends, anticipated favorable policies under the Trump administration, and increased investments from companies and institutions. While this outlook is promising, some experts caution that unclear regulations and broader economic challenges could temper Bitcoin's growth trajectory. Despite these potential headwinds, the overall sentiment for Bitcoin in 2025 remains optimistic, driven by supportive policy shifts and rising institutional interest. Many believe these factors will help strengthen Bitcoin's position as a key financial asset. Now, let's return to Samson Mow as he delves deeper into Bitcoin's future prospects.
The total holdings of Bitcoin in the US could be somewhere from 15 to 25%, between the ETFs, between the corporations, between large holdings, between the holdings of the US itself, and the Winklevoss twins, Tim Draper. There's a lot of Bitcoin in the US. So in one fell swoop, they could effectively make the US a massive superpower in terms of Bitcoin if they demonetize gold. Because they're also, the US is the largest holder of gold. So if they nuke that in favor of Bitcoin, that changes the dynamic massively. And you have to look at it from the perspective of they have political adversaries that have a lot of gold, and this could deal a massive blow against those adversaries that have been stacking gold diligently for the last couple decades, who also are stepping away from the US dollar. I think you and I and sailor can see. Like, this is a strategic, brilliant stroke, but there's probably a few other things like diplomacy at play here. Like, they have to consider, but also to understand the move, you need to understand Bitcoin too. So we'll see what happens, but I would say it's likely to happen because it's such a brilliant tactical move. Let's focus first on getting strategic Bitcoin reserves built in the US and then other countries, and then we'll see about this next move. It's such a big, bold move that it's like all in, but the win is almost guaranteed. So that's why I think it has to happen eventually. But the question is when. The transition into a Bitcoin standard is going to be very chaotic. If it's too rapid, it's sort of a demonetization event. The old currency starts to become useless and everyone is scrambling to get into Bitcoin. And that can entail a lot of human suffering. So back in 2016, I think there was a demonetization event in India where they remove, I think, $5 and $10 rupee notes out of circulation. And, a lot of people died, actually. I think maybe a dozen or so people died from exposure or being unable to pay for medical procedures because the hospital didn't want to take the old currency, right? So these things can be very chaotic. So imagine that type of event, but not just for a 5 and 10 rupee note, but for all the money of a country. And without knowledge of how Bitcoin works, you can see the opportunity for scammers. Like, okay, the Japanese yen is worthless now. Give it to me and I'll give you, Bcash. That could definitely happen, or worse, right? I see the transition could be very messy. And at the same time, when I'm talking about Omega, a lot of people think I'm just pumping the price and, introducing FOMO. But I really believe this is really going to happen because these transitions from one money to another are not very gradual. They are very rapid and they're unexpected usually. So I'm trying to make people understand that, expect the unexpected, plan accordingly. Suddenly is very sudden. So yeah, we want to prepare people, and working with governments is a good way to do that. Counterintuitively, because people look towards their governments for guidance and wisdom. So, having a country like El Salvador say Bitcoin's legal tender, that changes a lot of things and people start to pay attention, I think.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. The second part is doing this stuff is good for Bitcoiners, because if you think about it, the current laws don't offer much protection if Bitcoin is money and money is information, right? There is really little protection of information. And there is also not a lot of understanding about basic IT security in the general population. People still use passwords like, password 123. And even in the Bitcoin space /crypto, you've heard people store their seed in Evernote or Google Drive or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So security is a big thing, but the laws to protect people, I think, need to be massively transformed because, Bitcoin is information, information is money. So you could have, a border search. I think being from Australia, like the border officers have the right to seize your electronic devices and force you to open them, right?
Yeah. I get stopped every time.
Yeah. That's why I don't want to go to Australia. But, that has to change before Bitcoin can be safely used by the people. Otherwise, you have a border officer that says, show me your phone. They unlock it. They poke around. They look at your seed phrase. What's to stop them from memorizing those words or, capturing it on video? Or maybe they didn't capture it on video, but there is a system that captures video as they're looking at phones, and then someone else steals your money. But these things are not really dealt with right now. But I think they do need to be discussed and brought to light that the current laws don't really do anything to protect people in the age at which money is information. So privacy, respect for privacy, sovereignty, all these things need to be boosted up. And I think this comes with the work that we're doing to engage with governments to slowly get them to understand Bitcoin, and then what the repercussions are after that, right? That they need to adapt for to live in this Bitcoin age.
Governments must update their regulations to safeguard people as we transition to a world where money is digital and driven by information. Countries like El Salvador, which have recognized Bitcoin as legal tender, are making significant strides, but there's still more to be done. These actions help raise awareness and demonstrate Bitcoin as a legitimate alternative. At the same time, Samson Mow emphasizes the importance of individuals learning how to protect their digital asset. By collaborating, governments and Bitcoin advocates can work together to create a safer, more secure system for everyone in this new digital financial era. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.